Hello everyone, welcome back. I've got a very different video for you today, so if you're not interested in this kind of thing, feel free to skip, and normal service will be resumed shortly. For those that are interested though, before we begin, a couple of things I want to mention. Number one, Marie has been putting the graft in. She's jump-started her YouTube channel again, and she's really making some good videos, so I would encourage you to pop over there. I'll put a link in the description of this video. Go and give her a subscribe and you'll be able to see all the things we do here from her perspective, which I think is pretty different to mine. So then, on the subject of other channels, my second channel is just called Ash Pollard. Again, I'll put a link. I've started doing a bit more over there now as well. The last video I did was all about the solar and the batteries and how all of this system works. So if you want to see more of that sort of thing, and any product related stuff in the future, if there is any, will probably be on that channel. The only reason I'm doing this here is because of the relevance it has to van people, and I don't think what I've got to say will reach the ears I want it to on there, so that's why I'm doing it here. Right, let's get on with it then. So I kind of made a pact with myself that I would never do like a standalone product review video ever again. I did one a while ago and the product turned out to be an absolute piece of shite, so I didn't want to get involved in any of it. I've avoided all of these sort of battery banks, power stations, whatever you want to call them, for a long time. I've seen so many brands come and go and rebadge and all of this, and every time something new comes along, it floods the sort of van world, you know, gets plastered everywhere, and then within 6 months it's irrelevant and the next one's out. So it's not really something I've ever had the desire to get involved with. And here I am with one now sitting on my workbench. Double standards or what? But bear with me on this because I think you're going to be interested in what I've got to say. So this particular thing is ECOFLOW Delta 2. I don't know if the Delta 1 was any good. I've got no idea. I've never even seen one of these products. I know there's quite a few. Now, I got sent this completely for free. This is £1,000 worth of kit. Actually more, because they also sent me the solar panels and a bag that comes with it. I'll show you that in a sec. Those two things are optional extras, so I'm not sure how much they cost, but it's over £1,000's worth of gear. Now, I've never viewed YouTube as a business. It's probably a mistake, but that's just how it is. So if they decide that they want this back after this review because I've done a terrible job, I really don't care. I'm not going to BS about products just to get you to buy them and get the paycheck at the end. So I've had this thing for a little while now, playing around with it, obviously in this environment, which is an off-grid house as opposed to a van, but it does work very similar. But I am going to focus this thing on people living in vans, specifically people living all the time in vans as I used to, rather than people with houses that take the van out for a week or, you know, that kind of thing. Because I actually think in that scenario where, you know, you have a camper van for pleasure and you use it every now and again, I actually think these are pretty good. I think that makes sense. But from a full-time perspective, I'm not so sure. So I'll try and explain myself a little bit. First thing then, for me personally, why do I want one? Or why do I want this? I can tell you straight off, any other colour box version on the market I think are a complete waste of money, personally. This is the only one that's took my fancy. I'll tell you why in a sec. But why do I want one? What use do I have for it? The reason I actually agreed to this is for one purpose only, and that is as an emergency backup to preheat the engine on my van. And that's it. That's the only reason I agreed to this, because I do believe it's a viable option instead of a petrol generator, because that was plan A. I was going to try and get a small suitcase generator and somehow pack it into the van and have that as the backup, because the diesel heater that I've got on there, it's a Webasto thing, thermo top, that's it. That's brilliant, you know, way better than a mains one, but if that fails, I'm actually screwed. So I need to have some kind of backup device, which will probably be a warming plate on the sump. I haven't actually got it yet, so I can't demonstrate it, but this will power one of them fine, because they're only, I think they're 300 watts or something. So this will power it for 3 hours quite easily, which will be enough to preheat the engine. So that's why I've got it. I've also been using it to power my computer setup upstairs. So I've got a laptop and monitor and various other chargers and things like that. I have been using it a bit for that, just to play with it really, and to take the load off our other system a bit. So how do you charge it up? That's the next thing. And this is what sets this one apart from everything else, in my opinion. You've got 3 different options. I'll show you the back of it. Obviously you've got loads of ports. This isn't going to be a fully in-depth review with specs and all of this stuff, because I'm not the guy. There's plenty of those videos already out, probably, that you can, you know, go through all of the details and the nitty-gritty. I'm just going to give you the basics, and should you even consider buying one. So charging is under here. You've got 12 volt cigarette charger, this, which I wouldn't even bother with because it's only 8 amps I think, so it'll take, you know, ridiculous amounts of time to charge it. You can do solar in here, which is actually a good option. So the panel that they sent me is a 220, but you can put more. I'm pretty sure they make bigger panels, but you can also stack them. I think you can actually put quite a lot into that port, which is useful if you're somewhere that there's sun, which we are starting to lose pretty rapidly. I actually can't charge this on solar anymore on our property because the sun's gone. But then most importantly is this one, which is mains. Now the mains charger on this is the selling point of the whole unit, because it's a bit beastie. It will charge up to 80% in 50 minutes. And I've tested that and it is actually true. 100% takes a little bit longer just to get the last bit in, but it's probably an hour and a half total from 0 to 100%. I can't remember exactly, but it's quick. It's very quick, especially the 80% in 50 minutes part. That's quick, and that point alone makes this better than all of the other guff that's about at the minute, because I see some of the other units and they take like 8 hours to charge up on mains. I'm thinking it's just the most ridiculous waste of money I've ever seen in my life. However, there is a small problem with that beast mode mains charger that I've discovered being here. For those of you that don't know, we have no electricity here. There's no mains electricity coming into this property. We have to create our own using the batteries and then into an inverter. And the way that we charge during the winter when we don't have solar is with a generator. We've got a big generator, 7.5 kilowatts, and everything else, all of the other chargers, we've got 2 in here, we've got the big one for upstairs, small battery chargers, all work on this generator, but this does not. This will not charge directly out of the generator. I imagine it's because the stuff in here is quite sensitive, and the generator isn't an inverter generator, it's just a normal one, so it puts out dirty power, let's say. It's not clean, or it's not clean enough for this, so this just absolutely shits its pants and doesn't know what to do, and it won't charge. The only way that I can now make this charge on mains is by running it through our inverter upstairs, so charging it through the inverter system, which is obviously idiotic because that's just taking power from our batteries and putting it into another battery. It doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? So that's pretty much my experience with this. I say it was charging very well on solar, and even on the little panel that we got, well, it's not that little, it was saying in the sun that it was in, it was going to be fully charged in like 3 hours. So that's pretty good. But now we've got no sun, so that's pretty bad. That is my experience with it. So what is this for? What do I think this is for? For someone living in a van full time, if you've got the money to throw at something like this. I think this could be good as a backup power supply. So if your van system has an issue, something fails, you've got to take something out, something like this would be good to have, you know, ready to go in such a situation. I mean, you can use it obviously, you know, for this and that, but if it was me and I was still living as I was, you know, 2 years ago, I would have this as sort of a backup power supply, an emergency power supply, just in case something broke. I don't know why people try and sell the idea of camping with these, because it's not light. You know, this thing, I mean, it's not heavy, but it's probably, I don't know, 10 kilos or something. The solar panels weigh an absolute ton. It's no good for camping unless you drive right up to the spot you want to camp in your camper van, at which point you've probably got to start questioning your ideas of camping, if we're honest. This is more of a camping power bank. Battery, solar panels, all in one. Job done. Now on to the point that I really do want to talk about, because this is kind of the thing that spurred me to make this video. I'm seeing a lot recently, not just this power bank, various different ones, people suggesting that one of these can be, or should be, your only power system in your van. Now again, I'll just point out that I'm talking about people living in a van. You know, that's their full-time home, not people using a van recreationally just for fun. I'm not discriminating between either. I am now in the latter category. So, but trying to encourage people who live in a vehicle to just use one of these systems, I think is absolutely wrong on so many levels. Because realistically, the main point of that is, if all of your power resources are in this box, your solar controller, your inverter, everything, your battery, and this thing breaks, then what? That's it. Your van's a write-off pretty much until you can get a new one or get a replacement. I think that's foolish. That would be stupid. I mean, you know me, I'm all about having a backup of the backup for all major systems in the van. Even in this house we have that to an extent. Running everything off one of these is such a bad idea. I can't stress it enough. You know, everything breaks. Doesn't matter how good it is, doesn't matter how expensive it is. All electronics at some point are going to go wrong. That's just the nature of the beast, unfortunately. So now we get into the final part, which is, would I recommend that you go out and buy one of these? I think if you're the type of person that's happy to spend 5 times more on a particular product just because it's blue, then sure, you'll have £1,000 to throw at one of these and it's fine, it doesn't matter, you know. Not that I've got anything against blue products, we actually use a few in here, you know. I'm not anti-blue, but what I mean is, if you're not that type of person, which by the way is me, then £1,000 can buy you a hell of a lot more use than just one power bank. I mean, in terms of a van, you could pretty much build a whole system. Yeah, the AC might not be as powerful as this. I think this can put out 1800 watts or something. But you could build a normal system, you know, batteries, solar controller, inverter, which is what this does, and a 12-volt fuse box, and the wiring to go with it. You could build that quite easily for the same price. Maybe even slide a B2B in there, depends how big. But then what that gives you is a modular system, which is important, because it's that modular system that if some part of it breaks, which it will, we just talked about that, eventually everything breaks. If your solar controller breaks, you can take that solar controller out and put a new one in. Same with the inverter, same with whatever other gubbins you've got connected to it. If an individual component stops working, you can replace it. If an individual component in this stops working, that's it, you got to send it back. They do have decent warranty. I can't remember exactly how much it was. I think it was at least 2 years or something. But that's not the point, because when you're living in a van, everything in that van is your lifeline. If a part needs replacing, it's got to be quick to put a new part in. You can't be sending this off and waiting for a new one to come, you know. If you don't have redundancies, if you don't have backups, if you don't have ways to change things, you're screwed. That's it. You're sitting at the side of the road with no power. So that's my thoughts on the power bank topic, which I've tried to stay clear from for as long as possible. But I couldn't sit back and watch, you know, all of these videos saying how much you need something like this. when that's just incorrect. Obviously I'm not trying to bash this product. This particular unit I actually think is very good, and if I can find a more streamlined way of charging it on mains, I think there probably is a place for this in what we do here, and obviously there'll be a place for it when I go off in the van, because this is going to be my backup. I've not decided how I'm going to charge it with the van yet. I've only got a 500 watt inverter in there, so I may have to throttle this down, which you can do in the app that comes with it. You can turn the power down, but then obviously it's going to take longer to charge, so I don't know, we'll see. Maybe I fully charge it before I go and then just maintain it on the road just in case I need to use it. But there you go, that is my 2 pence, and I won't be doing another one. So I hope you found this somewhat useful. I mean, if you weren't interested, you probably shouldn't have watched this long anyway, if we're honest. But hoping to get out in the van very soon. I had to wait on some parts which have now come. They're on, I think in the next few weeks, be getting out somewhere. But I shall see you all soon. Catch you in a bit.